Yay, welcome. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you could make it. I'm Judy Utah. I'm going to bring up a presentation now, so give me a second to share my screen. All right, welcome. Um, so this is the very first fact series, and I'm excited to offer it. We're going to have 3 sessions. You're signed up for all three. If you don't want to come to all three, I'll understand. This is the first one. And the idea is to bring everybody together, bring family and talent and maybe some other friends together, because this journey through entertainment is not something to do alone. Today, I'm going to give you a little bit more background on me and what our thinking is at Autism and Entertainment. And then we're going to get to meet some great people. We're going to meet Alex and Sherry Astrella and Hannah Olander. Alex founded Blue Star Production, and Hannah works at Miracle Project. And they're both of them are educational partners, actually. But I think it's really important to learn from other people. So I'm looking forward to your meeting them. You guys all sent me questions, so we're going to go over some of those questions and any other questions that you might have. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what's next. So that said, hold on. I'm going to see if I can see you guys a little. There you go. Okay, so it's your first time to an Autism and Entertainment event. Thank you for coming. Um, our first big event was 2 years ago in April of 2024. We had a conference, and our mission is to increase the participation of autistic talent in the entertainment industry. And a lot of that has to be done through connecting talent, professionals, educational partners, community organizations to create a more neuro-inclusive ecosystem and expand pathways that foster creative opportunities, meaningful careers, and fulfilling lives. And I've recently added that term, fulfilling lives. And it's been something that I've been very mindful of. And that's part of the reason Hannah's here. Is entertainment is a source of enjoyment, entertainment is a potential career, but also for a lot of people, entertainment is about creativity and community and about creating joy. And so I think it's important that as we go through this material and you think about your journeys, that you think about, why am I doing this? And maybe it's just about being happy. Okay, first I'm going to give you a little bit of background about me. Everybody has a why. Why do I get up in the morning? Got to earn money or whatever it is. So for me, my big why is my son, Josh. Josh was diagnosed with autism at age 3. He's now 34, so you can do the math.
Oh, oh
He's had
boy.
years of learning, growing, support. He graduated from college. He went to Cal State Fullerton and graduated with a Bachelor's of Art in Television and Cinema in January of 2020. What's magical about January of 2020? COVID. Yeah. How fun was that for people graduating
COVID.
at the beginning of
COVID.
2020? Um, now, so I had Josh, and a lot of why I'm doing this is because I'm mindful of my son and his experience. My background is I do not come from entertainment. Grew up in Pacific Palisades, so I had lots of friends who were in entertainment. I have family members who are in entertainment, but my background is actually high tech. Anyway, I've been running a Toastmasters group for 14 years. Toastmasters is a public speaking group, and I had this great idea of using Toastmasters with people on the spectrum. And it's just been an amazing thing. And it kind of started me on my journey of working with people on the spectrum. Uh, Secret, Josh never participated in any of my Toastmaster meetings, except maybe once to take some pictures. But that's part of me, is that it's not everything I do is not about my son. And that's one of the things I want to pass on to all of you is, if all you're thinking about is yourself, you're not solving, and you might solve your own problem, but you're not going to solve the problem. And I want you to be thinking, if I'm solving this problem, is there a way that I can solve it for other people and not just worry about me? Um, my running Toastmasters caused me to run the Autism Society Orange County, which used to be called the Orange County Asperger Support Group, which I ran for 10 years. And it was through that I put on, our focus was on improving people's quality of life. And we did that through careers or through support, social activities, and education. And so I met lots of people by doing this. I heard lots of stories. I did some research and found out careers were really important to people. I did something called Career Club, which is how I met my friends at Zavicon, etc. So it was a key part of my journey and made me who I am, that makes me want to run this crazy thing called autism and entertainment. But I have lots of conversations with people and family. And so I feel like I may not know you, although there are a few people out there that I do know, but I do know a lot about the experience. So again, what I want to say is the moment we begin thinking beyond our own family is the moment we begin building a stronger community and lasting change. Because autism and entertainment isn't about finding a job for one or of you. It's about changing the ecosystem, changing how people view autism, and about connecting you. And so um, I just want to share that with you because that's a very strong philosophical thing. And we're not staff for one-on-one support. We're not staff to help everybody find their own job. We're not staff for doing that. Um, but we are focused on creating the change, and we are focused on connecting you with people such as Blue Star Productions, such as the Miracle Project, who are staffed to help you more on your journey. Um, Everybody is on a journey, and everybody's path is going to be different. There's no one right. If someone says, I want to be an animator, what should I do? You're going to be on your own journey. It's going to be different than everybody else's. And you're in a different place on your journey than everybody else. Maybe you've been studying for 10 years and you are like really ready to work. Or maybe you just like going to restaurants and drawing pictures. I don't know where you are on your journey, but where you are on your journey means you should be doing different things to prepare you for whatever it is that you want to achieve. And we do lots of webinars with people and have exposed people to lots of different people. And part of it is, and like tonight, you're going to hear about Alex's journey. Part of it is so that you understand um, how people got to where they are today and what what they did to get ready, who they met, all the different things that led them on their journey. Again, about who we are, we're about creating a more inclusive ecosystem. We're about building community. We want you to connect to each other. We share resources. I don't know all the answers, but I know somebody else who might know an answer to a specific question. We're about creating partnerships. When we started this, it was being mindful that we didn't want to be the answer to solving everybody's problems. What we wanted to do was to connect people to the resources of all the wonderful people out there who are trying to help you solve your problems. It's about opportunities, and we want more opportunities for you. Each opportunity gives you a chance at the wheel to possibly get a job or meet somebody or do something that will be impactful in your life. And the key thing is to do things, You don't, if you wake up every morning and do the same thing and talk to the same people, your journey is going to be very limited. But if you're like Dorothy and you go to Oz and you start talking to a scarecrow or a tin man or something, then all of a sudden you have a more interesting journey and you learn more. And this is the more people that are involved in this journey, the better the journey is going to be for all of us. So you guys, we had over 40 people respond and we got a bunch of different questions. I'm not going to go through the questions now, and I'm not sure all of them will get dealt with tonight, but I think a lot of them will be. So there were a bunch of questions about finding my path. How do I get started? How do I get hired? What are the different career paths? How do I get experience? So a lot of them is about navigating your path. Then there were some questions about community. How do I find my people? Because like I said, it may be just about being happy. Where do I meet friends? Who is out there to help me? Then there's a parent's journey about us trying not to be helicopter parents, but at the same time being supportive. So when do I step in? When do I step back? How do I encourage independence? These are tough questions for parents. I'm going to look at Sherry for a second because I'm sure she deals with these parent questions throughout the journey with Alex, which is part of the reason I asked for her to be here today. Then there's about representation. There were some people who specifically said, hey, why aren't more autistic people represented in film? How do we create more opportunities? How do we change the industry and make it more welcoming? And then finally, about resources such as educational partners, internships, funding, conferences, mentors, things like that. So those were the different types of questions that we had today. So I've been doing a lot of thinking the last couple months, and it's having a lot of little epiphanies. One of the drivers of some of this is we have an intern, Regina Weber, who was really, I know Hannah's nodding because you know Regina, who was really, really wanting to do something for autism and entertainment. And she kept bugging me. And finally, I thought of the right project for her. And what she's doing is doing conversations, discussions with our members. So you may not all be members. Members pay dues, and those dues are really important to supporting our organization. I don't take any salaries, but there are plenty of people that I pay, I'm going to pay Regina. I've paid Alex on a few occasions. Um, so that funding is important. Anyway, Regina wanted to do something, and I realized that I really wanted to hear back from our members and what was of concern to them. And and most of the members she had spoken with initially were the ones that we have something called the talent book, and it's something that we introduced uh, to allow people to promote themselves within the industry. And so she talked to people who were in the talent book. So most of these people were fairly experienced and they really were ready for and wanted a job. And I was like, I don't know, I can't do that for everyone. And it kind of came to the realization of something I said earlier, which is we're not all on the same stage. We're all in a different part of our journey. And so I came up with this dream chart here as a way of looking at where you are in your journey. And I was telling Hannah that I was just at Disney World and we watched a great fireworks display. And the theme was dreams, of course, because it's Disney and it's when you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. We were all raised on our dreams and making those dreams come true. So I felt that the term dream really fit many of the folks that we work with in terms of you have dreams and aspirations of what you want for yourself and for a career, and where are you on making that happen. So I felt like that was the right word, and it's just an acronym to stand for different phases that you might be in. So you might be in just the dreaming phase. You really haven't done any work. I was at a session, I was at a play on Sunday, and one of the people there was saying he wanted to be a voice actor. And he's really just at the beginning of his journey. He hasn't really done too many classes or things like that, but that's his dream. So, it's what is your dream? What is going to make you happy? And again, I highlighted that word happiness because that's just something that I've been processing lately. When I look back at Josh's life, I was really focused on academics and, how is he going to succeed and da da da. And and I wasn't specifically focused on his happiness. And and I now am kind of rethinking how I approach things. And part of this is for parents. And we live in America. It's a capitalistic society, so we're used to, earning money, and that's a measure of who you are. And I do think we should pause and rethink that a little bit as parents or maybe as people and say, what makes me happy? Because life goes by, and are you happy? So I highlighted that in pink because I feel that that's an important part of what you think about when you think about your dream. But your dream may be about careers and employment and friendship and independence. You want to live on your own. You want opportunities to be creative. What is your dream? Kind of characterizing your dream. Okay, you have a dream, but are you ready for that dream? Have you done the work? Because you don't just pop out of, uh, pop into Hollywood and get a job without having studied. Alex studied at U- University of
UC Santa
California, Santa
Barbara.
Barbara, UCSB, and I remembered. I just had a mental mental lag. Uh, but you got to study. You got to be good at what you do. It's a very competitive world out there, and you have to have the training and the skills. You have to have a portfolio. You have to have a resume. You have to know how you're going to get to where you're going. Maybe you need to plan your benefits and financially, how are you going to survive? Do you have the interview skills? There's a lot of readiness that's required for your dream to come true. And one of the things that's important about Autism is Entertainment is we have over 20 educational partners, and they're really the key to readiness. They're really the key to the training that you need to be ready. And it may not be one educational partner. Maybe you do one educational partner for one thing and one educational partner for another thing, but you're not going to be successful if you're not ready. Okay. Then it's about creating opportunities, and those opportunities come through engagement. They come through meeting people. It's a networking world. And whether you're networking with partners, whether you're networking with employers, going to conference, networking with each other, it's just really important that you're engaged because and we're going to probably hear some of those stories from Alex. Those opportunities come from having those conversations with people, and those then lead into the opportunities of the future is following up on those discussions. And then there's achieving. Okay, so you've had conversation, but are you achieving? Are you making your films? Are you building out your portfolio? Are you um, doing the things that you need to do to achieve? And things where we know you want to achieve are doing things like having internships and things like that. And then the last part, the M, is for mentor. Okay. And this may not be obvious, but it's really important you give back. And just as I was telling parents, it shouldn't be just solving your kids' problems, it should be true for you. That when I was with, I went to Comic-Con on Friday because we were showing a film that we had made about Danny Bowman. And there was a young lady there who had been a student of Danny's and was now working as a teacher with animation. Okay. And there had been lots of people like that where the student then becomes the teacher. Okay. And so and I know for me that the best way for me to learn something is to try and teach it. So and this is things like what Regina wants to do. She wants to be a mentor. She wants to give back. So I think that should be part of your journey is thinking about how do I start doing good? How do I give back? I had a conversation with Tyler Berman, and Tyler has been with us since the Autism and Entertainment Conference. He was the voice of the God. He wrangled me into making sure I included talent, the people in front of the camera uh, at the conference. And he was calling me up about some things. And I was, he was wanting to know what was I doing for him with this and what was I doing for him for that. And then at some point I was explaining the challenges we had. And he says, what can I do to help? And for me, that was huge. That made me feel so good that he was offering to help. So you should be in the back of your mind, wherever you are in journey, thinking about, well, what can I do to help someone who's just getting started? Okay, the entertainment market industry is really difficult. It's very, very competitive. And I already said success looks different for everyone, but a lot of people are having trouble right now. Part of it is the changes in how people are consuming their content. It used to be they'd watch, it'd be the fall and we'd see all the new shows coming out for television and there'd be 26 episodes, and now it's maybe there's 8 or 10 episodes and they're streaming and it's all just very different. So part of it is that COVID caused people to quit going to the movie theaters and they really haven't come back to the movie theaters. We've had fires in California, which has been very disruptive. We've had strikes. We have AI. There's a lot of things going on and people are losing their jobs. So it's important that you realize that it's not an easy career to have. And a lot of people's careers are going to look like this. They're going to be building community, they're going to be sharing resources, they're going to be doing their own work. A lot of the people that we talk to now have their own YouTube channel or creating their own content. And that is probably going to be more of the key to you being successful. One of the things that I had done with Alex last year was the creator community. And the idea was to encourage you to make your own content and work with each other as teams. So it's not gonna, there's just not a lot of those, Disney just laid off a ton of people. And, it's not going to be that Disney's going to hire you for a job. It's just not going to be that way. A few people may get that, but it's going to be you creating your own path and your own self. There will be interns, there are opportunities. The more that we can do to help in terms of, having them think about you, having them look at our talent book. We have a relationship now with a new show called President Curtis, which is a spinoff of Rick and Morty, and they're planning on hiring a couple of interns from our group. So, the more we can do things like that to help, it'll help. But I just don't want you to think it's very idealistic to think I'm going to find a job. And there's just no one path. So I just wanted to make sure. Okay, we're going to talk to Alex and Sherry, but before I do that, I want to show you a video. Okay. And this is how I got to know Alex better. Alex was featured in a spotlight video at our Autism and Entertainment conference. And this video was made by my son, Josh. So ties everything together. So I'm excited to share that with you now. And hopefully this will work.
Hi, my name is Alex Astrella, and I'm a filmmaker and behavior technician. And I was diagnosed with autism when I was 2 years old. Blue Star Productions is a production company that I created in 2022 for neurodivergent filmmakers with autism or with any other neurological disability to create visual arts in a safe space. I was 2 years old. My mom took me to get diagnosed at UCLA Medical Center up in Los Angeles. The doctor diagnosed me, said that I probably wouldn't pass high school, or if I did, I'd probably be working maybe the most at a convenience store or something like that. And my mom was essentially like, no way, no, that's not gonna be the case. So she enrolled me at an ABA services. I had ABA therapy up until I was 7, and during ABA, I kind of found movies as an outlet, an escape, if you will. It was definitely, I experienced a great deal of challenges, whether it be to hide my STEM in private or to just account for others' perspectives. I did a lot of writing through high school. After school, I would come back and either doing journal entries or writing what I would thought. I just loved writing. And so I did that a lot as a teenager. Fast forward to my undergraduate days at UC Santa Barbara, I just wanted to, instead of writing or instead of just watching films, I wanted to actually make them. In the end, documentary was kind of where I wanted to be and what I was most passionate about. From UC Santa Barbara, and getting my undergraduate degree in film and media studies. Moved back home with my parents, and I was like, I still knew I wanted to pursue film, but I didn't really know what the means to getting there was going to be or how I was going to advance. My mom suggested to me, actually, like, why don't you, in the meantime, try working as an ABA therapist? Kind of on a whim, just did the interview, and I just immediately loved it. The kids kind of indirectly inspiring me through their own creativity and their own perspectives on life and their world around them. I think that really contributed to me not only wanting to pursue a master's in special education, but also starting about a company that, you know, empowered people who have unique perspectives to shine their own creative light or have their own voice be heard. And I did get my master's at Vanderbilt University. I actually got my master's in special education. All of us had to complete a thesis project, and I wanted to incorporate my love for films and filmmaking into that thesis project, and that's what brought about Free Play, kind of working with other filmmakers and film subjects in the autism and disability community. So for last 5 years, I've been making my own documentary films. The 3 films I've completed are Underdogs, Unbreakable, and Trial by Fire. Each of them has gotten an award and has also gotten into multiple festivals around the country. And for Trial by Fire and Underdogs, those films got into festivals internationally. That kind of helped, spawn Blue Star. I really just want to empower other neurodivergent creators and visual artists to have their voice heard. Having autism is totally a superpower. I kind of laugh about how I thought about that 5 years ago and realizing that I was so scared of potentially telling people, because now, Blue Star is founded upon the notion that we're empowering people, we're wanting people to speak up about their autism and, hopefully see it as a superpower themselves. Especially as neurodivergent filmmakers, I think sometimes we have certain obstacles to overcome. Don't let it delude you into thinking you can't do it, because you can. And when you do overcome those challenges, whatever they may be, you will be that much stronger because of it.
Well, let me spotlight Alex for us. I guess I should spotlight myself.
Unmuted. Yeah. Thank you, Judy.
And I guess I'm doing Sherry at the same time. Thank you, Alex. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, Sherry. I'm so glad to have you be our first guest for this series. And I immediately thought of you, Alex, because you've been just such a great leader. And then also I know how important your mom has been in this journey. And I see her at events and activities, and she's just such a strong force in your life that I thought this was a really good matchup. So thank you for being here. So I have a few questions for you, Alex. Some of them might have been answered in the video, but when did you know that you wanted to be a filmmaker? What was it that made it obvious to you that that was what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think honestly it was when I was doing, and this wasn't exactly explicitly shared in the video, but when I was making my film Trial by Fire, which wasn't my first film, but was my first documentary, and all my previous films up to that point had been narratives, and they didn't really meet the threshold, quality threshold that I envisioned for myself or that I would want for myself. And when I did Trial by Fire, not only was we were very thankful and fortunate to have a quality project, but everybody on that set became my friend, and kind of espousing the values that you talked about earlier. That the community is so important. I really did find a community of talent, not only talented but like-minded individuals on Trial by Fire. And so I still tell people that was my favorite semester of college when I was working on that film, and it's still one of my favorite films. And so
A school project then.
yeah,
It wasn't like you were a filmmaker. It was like a school project that really was a different type of project that switched on that switch for you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was a film that, we had a budget as seniors at Santa Barbara. We had a budget of $500 and, we no expectations. And then, a couple years later, it's getting into film festivals in Italy and stuff. So it was just surpassed our wildest expectations.
When I talked about readiness and the things you have to do. What kinds of things did you do to prepare yourself to be a filmmaker?
That's a good question. I think just watching a lot of film, I mean, as cliche or simple as it might be, watching a lot of film with, an active lens. And I think nowadays it's hard. The thing is, it sounds so simple in essence, but with like phones being distracting, people not going out to theaters as much, like you said, sometimes like the simple task of just sitting down and watching a movie and really kind of thinking of it with a critical lens isn't as like accessible as it or convenient as it used to be. I think that's the first major step in um, having those discussions as well. And even if it's not with another person, even if it's just like looking at like YouTube reviews, this what in terms of like what helped prepared me, I would listen to podcasts or I'd watch YouTubers kind of see their takes on it or like behind the scenes as well, kind of spotlighting like certain shots or certain moments. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool how they did that. I want to find a way to incorporate that into my film or into one of my films. Um, so yeah, to bring it back, I think that's crucial. Kind of having that, kind of being able to talk about it one way or another, even if it's just like watching a YouTube personality.
Okay. Well, one thing that strikes me about you is that whenever I see you have some friends with you or people, mentors and things like that. So how, and some people on the spectrum have a difficult time connecting to others or knowing how to build those friendships. Has that been a struggle for you, or have you always been good at it? And tell me about some of your relationships.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It definitely was harder especially in grade school, I would say, because I wasn't public about being on the spectrum. Like only my mom, my dad, and some close family members knew, and the people who worked with me as a kid knew. So I was always a bit quirky and like never in the popular groups, and like nobody knew that I was like on the spectrum. And but fast forward to college and I don't know, it just kind of I felt more like empowering and being able to be free at UC Santa Barbara. And that kind of, this was also around the time about 10 years ago where the stigma around autism was slowly kind of changing. And so then that's what, allowed me to, I think it kind of goes in turn with like me being able to share my diagnosis, even if it was in public at the time with just friends at Santa Barbara. It allowed me to kind of not give a crap and just be like, all right, well, I'm going to be who I am. And if I am a bit weird, I'm not going to be apologetic about it. And if people gravitate towards me, great. And if not, then it wasn't meant to be. And I've adopted that, philosophy throughout a lot of things in life. Like if something doesn't go my way or somebody gets pissed off by it, I'll definitely like reflect, but I'll also be like, okay, that wasn't meant for me. Um, but
Mm.
yeah, to bring it back to your question, I think get being older and more comfortable in my own skin, not having to try as hard as I did in elementary school, has allowed me to kind of build up my community. And for the most part, it's been more people have gravitated towards than have drifted off. And the ones that have drifted off, it's meant to be. And I wish them luck in their endeavors as well.
I like your philosophy. Um, so you made a decision to start your own company. And what made you tell us about how you got to that decision and how it's played out?
Totally, yeah. So I knew like especially when I was at Vanderbilt, when I was getting my master's in special education, I knew that I wanted the fact that I got there to that point and already surpassed like, like I said in the video, the doctor's expectations of, now I'm being in grad school. I'm like, all right, like what exactly is my purpose on this earth? And, I still don't, disclaimer, don't still fully know. I think everyone's kind of working towards that, but I'm like, I think it's something greater than just making documentaries, which I still love, of course, but it was like just one night I was going to sleep my second year at Vanderbilt, and I was like, okay, I got it. like it just kind of came to me like a neurodivergent production company using my own background and my own skill set to kind of those being kind of the core tenets of the company. And yeah, I mean, luckily I woke up like right at that moment. It was still the West Coast time on California. I called a couple of friends, got some initial ideas on a Google document, and from there, yeah, just like it's so cool with the production company because it's a lot of just intrinsic motivation. It's obviously, as you know, with autism entertainment as well, sometimes, you go months without really a major update or like an in-person event, but just knowing that you are working towards not only like bigger milestones for myself and for the company, but that it will be, hopefully change future generations and alter the trajectory of people that we try to be in service of the neurodivergent population. So
Well, we'll maybe come back to that a little bit later. I wanted to ask you, I'm anxious to start talking to Sherry, so we're going to do that in a sec, but I just wanted your perspective on this. So you chose to go to Vanderbilt and get a master's degree in applied behavior analysis. Um, that, here you had a film degree, that's what you wanted to do. What made you decide, hey, I'm going to get this master's and I'm going to also pursue this other career?
yeah, so and I should say too, it's really cool watching back the video because at that time I was a behavior technician. Now I'm a full BCBA behavior analyst. So it's really cool to see like that progress even from a couple of years ago. But to answer the question, yeah, like I think it was kind of being like I said in the video, like when I was providing the resources and therapy services to other kiddos. It was just so cool, and like it was something in elementary school. I was kind of scared of like associating with other kids that were special needs or in the special needs classroom because of my own diagnosis and like kind of being afraid to accept that. And then being in these settings as a therapist, it's like, oh, this is so cool. Like not only getting to like, see the breakthrough moments, but to get to work with the family and learn about them and build a rapport with the kiddo. Each kid is a individual. That's what really led me to wanting to pursue my master's in it. And yeah, I'm so glad I did. Obviously, like I still love film, as it's part of my company, but I think getting my master's in special education has provided such a solid foundation of my understanding of working with this population and inspiring films like Free Play and Extraordinary Character to, point where those probably films probably wouldn't have existed if I went to grad school for documentary and stuff. So and again, being a BC, I'm very proud that I'm a behavior analyst now, and I'm able to, implement programs and that were implemented to me when I was a youth, and hopefully applying them to a new younger generation that will be able to succeed later in life. So
And I'm going to add, it allows you to earn a living.
that
Yes.
too, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's very welcome as well.
Sherry's nodding. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll come back to you. I think I wanted to talk to Sherry for a little bit. So, hi, Sherry. How are you?
I thank you for asking me.
Oh,
And
you're
yes,
welcome.
the films don't make any money. So
We'll go there in a sec. But I wanted to take, the video that Josh did about Alex talks about the diagnosis at age 2. And for parents, we all know when we get that diagnosis and dealing with that. What were your thoughts back then? And if you were maybe going to talk to Sherry, you know, 20 plus years ago, of the past, and Sherry the future came back to talk to her, what do you think you would have told her to make her feel better?
not to worry so much about the little things and that everything was going to turn out all right. We were very lucky because he was so high functioning. And when we went to speech therapy, he did speech therapy, behavioral therapy, and occupational therapy. So he was in a lot of programs, and there were some kids that just never progressed. And we were very lucky. I never thought, and my husband too, never thought he would get this far because they said it'll be a special school. He'll have no friends. He'll work it like a McDonald's. He won't graduate high school. And I'm going, no, this isn't going to happen. This is not his path. And that's 28 years ago. Now, with like programs like Love on the Spectrum and all these other things, autism is much more in the limelight. Back then, it was something you hid, but now it's so mainstream. I wish it had been that way when he was younger, but now I'm just grateful that it's for the parents that are getting that first diagnosis, which is like it's like
7 stages of grief.
yeah, it's like grief in the family because you just
Yeah.
don't expect it. You go, we had one diagnosis from UCLA and my husband and I didn't believe it. And we go, nope, that's not right. And we went to UC Irvine to get a second one and it was right. So we just couldn't
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. But now we're just very proud of him.
I'm proud of him too. I'm proud of my son. I'm proud of a lot of the individuals that are here today. It's a lot of work, this journey. It's not, you just don't assume things. It's a lot of work for the parent and it's a lot of work for the child, but it makes it that much more treasured when
Right.
you've achieved.
Right.
So looking back, any surprises for you along the way, or any like major gifts that was like, oh, I really am glad that happened in your life, Sherry?
I'm glad he chose film, and I am so happy he chose uh, working as an ABA person because whenever both those uh, jobs, the film people are always interested. You know, they say you say documentary, and they go, "Oh, what about?" And then when you say when he says ABA and stuff, oh, you must have so much patience to work with kids like that. And it's I just think that, and he's following his dreams. You know, I'm just happy with that. Yeah.
So Sherry, tell me about the conversation that, or the sets of conversation that set Alex up to say, hey, I'm going to pursue a master's so that you and I both cheered, he could earn a living. So tell me about, was that like something that did he have lemonade stands growing up and it was always something that was important to him? Or is this something that after he graduated college, you just started emphasizing, how are you going to pay the rent?
How are you going to pay the rent? He's always loved money because
Who doesn't?
yeah, like half his paycheck would be at GameStop or video games and stuff. No, he enjoys money. He enjoys traveling. And now that he's making money as an ABA, he can travel on his own to those film festivals because they don't pay for the room and board or the airplane fare. So he's gone to Wyoming, Ohio, New York, Florida. We just got back from one in Prescott, Arizona, and he's traveled all over the country. So I'm glad he's making money doing that, and we're not paying for it.
So I'm going to ask a little bit of a self-serving question here. So Sherry, you're a member of Autism in Entertainment. You have been since the very beginning. Alex has been involved. How has our existing helped you both on this journey?
I'll let you tell him.
Well, yeah, I still think I look back at the initial conference in April 2024, and that was such a cool moment. I mean, that's the first time I shared the stage with Danny Bowman. I'm, very fortunate to be close friends with her and her family at this point too. I mean, that was the first time we kind of interacted, and I got to be close with Judy and Hannah as well, the Miracle Project. I think it's really cool. I hadn't really reflected, but that was kind of there were like chapters of Blue Star of my life. Even like the Autism Entertainment Conference would definitely be a pretty big event on that timeline because I think it just opened the doors for so many other projects, and it also really a couple of other things like community. Like I met Tyler Berman there as well. I met a bunch of awesome, outside the different organizations, I just met a bunch of awesome neurodivergent individuals, which, further drove home the purpose of my own purpose with Blue Star being like, okay, we need to, keep working to empower these individuals. And then also, speaking as well, that was one of the first kind of like public speaking engagements I had. And again, that the amazing kind of keynote address with Daniel is like 500 people there. I'm like, holy crap. And it just, it was so cool to know that there were that many people that like cared about what we had to say. I think the most important thing and kind of unifying theme, if you will, is that autism, kind of like my mom said, is, in a great way, it's in the limelight, and it's on this trajectory to, I don't think, be eradicated by AI or layoffs or whatnot, and especially in the entertainment industry, because everybody has such a unique lens, and that's something, again, like my thought is initially, my mind goes to AI, but it's something it'll never be able to replicate, and so I'm very confident for the future of neurodivergent filmmakers, and again, bring it back. The conference was just a big. I was in a flow state. It just felt like
Yeah,
it was.
yeah, it was an amazing day.
Yeah.
Sherry, what makes you decide to support us?
Well, you, Judy, I mean, you've done so much for autism and making helping people that are autism, people that are interested in entertainment, and everything you do, your emails, your webinars, your seminars, your links to different programs and stuff, your conferences. So it's really been wonderful for me, because I can see, yeah, there's other people that are in
seeing those other people and having that community,
and you hold everything together. I don't know how you do it, because you do a fantastic job.
I have a great team. There's a really great work group that I know Alex has met quite a few of them, Paul and Marlene, and it's amazing.
But touche, you do. I mean, even you have a great system, but I don't know how you hold it together either. It's pretty awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna invite Hannah to join us, I'd like to ask her a few questions, and then we can open up to everybody to ask questions. So, Hannah, I don't have a video about you. You want to tell us, let's just start off and tell us a little bit more about yourself and about the Miracle Project.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you so much for including me, Judy. To be alongside Alex is such a huge compliment. I'm such a fan of his. But
we're a fan of you guys as well.
I am the program director and clinical supervisor at the Miracle Project. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been with the Miracle Project going on 15 years now. I started as a volunteer when I was an undergrad, and I had actually watched in one of my classes the documentary Autism the Musical that profiled the work of Elaine Hall, who's the Miracle Project's founder, and the origins of the Miracle Project. And it spoke to me. It made so much sense, as growing up as an artist, as a dancer, but also knowing that I was interested in being an ally and support to the neurodivergent community. It just brought all my interests together, and I started volunteering. I thought I was going to go there and help be a good role model and help teach these kids. And Judy, it was the opposite experience. They welcomed
from
me.
them.
Yes, yes. I've learned so much more from them than I can ever teach. But I volunteered for a couple of years, won my heart right away, became a teaching artist, then started working on fund development and grant writing. There were 2.5 years that I went up into the Bay Area while I was getting my hours towards my clinical licensure. I went to grad school while I was working for the Miracle Project, and then came back in January of 2020 in this role. And it was definitely a very interesting and pivotal time at the Miracle Project, in that the world changed, and so the way that we created and sustained community also changed. So I've been along for the ride and helping to navigate the changing landscape ever since. So it's been a privilege of a lifetime. I absolutely love it.
I just want to say that I invited Hannah here for a number of reasons. One, I want to emphasize the importance of our educational partners, and they are just such passionate, giving people and have a lot of experiences that can be helpful on the journey. And you'll meet a few others as we um, move through the other sessions. The second reason, I see Hannah all the time. She comes to our comedy show, she's there with her group. And uh, and I saw her at Alex had a film festival a couple months ago, the Blue Star Film Festival at the Frida Theater in Santa Ana, and I saw Hannah there, and I watched some of the films you did. And autism is a spectrum disorder, and and I saw your work around the same time. A whole bunch of other little things happen, and Alex will say that this is what happens. It's like two or three things happen at the same time, and then they all come together to be something bigger. Uh, I saw Hannah's films had nonverbal non-speakers performing and dancing to music where they wrote the lyrics, and and the same time, uh, I've had a filmmaker, the Bergmans, who you've met, Alex, Michael Bergman, and who's a non-speaker who's put together a film called Pointing Fingers. And so I was like talking to them and watching their film. And then at the same time, I was driving my car listening to the Beatles channel. And who should show up but Elizabeth Bonkers, who's a non-speaker who was in Understanding Autism, which Elaine Hall was in, which is where I met Elaine. Um, and Elizabeth was there with her mom, and she's now partnering with another young man doing a Beatles show on Sirius XM. And so all these nonverbal people came together. And then I was processing this whole issue of positive psychology and this happiness and thriving. And I thought of you, Hannah, and I thought of that a lot of the people that you're working with aren't necessarily people that are destined for careers in entertainment, but are finding community and happiness. So I felt it was a really important area to focus in on, because I want people to be thinking that this journey isn't just about getting a job. It may be like Alex, you end up making money doing something else, but you someday may be making money from doing your film. But the filmmaking is a source of passion and community and meaning. So that was a long introduction, but I just want you to talk to me about what you've seen in terms of community and happiness through the arts and through being involved with the Miracle Project.
Oh gosh, I love that question, Judy, and thank you for all the kind words. I love being associated with all of those things. I think we at the Miracle Project, and I know a lot of the community partners that are part of Autism and Entertainment, we're really striving to create spaces of belonging, of places where people can feel like they can be authentically themselves and to connect with others who also share those similar interests. We are forced so frequently to mask and to try to guess what society is expecting of us and to try to fit into different social situations. And while an aspect of what we do at the Miracle Project, we have a whole improv for interaction social skills program where we rehearse for life. At the core of it is really learning to become more comfortable with sharing ourselves and our stories and our authentic voices with the rest of the world. And I know that building a meaningful life, building a career, building anything doesn't happen in complete isolation. It happens in community. And when we create spaces where people feel empowered to take risks, that's where confidence grows from. And so we are we love using the arts as a medium where people can engage creatively and express themselves in different ways that might not be the traditional way of having a dialogue that one might expect is how one would communicate one's ideas. There's music, there's AAC, there's dance, there's gesture, there's theater, there's acting, and it's making sure that we are making expression as accessible to as many people as we can. That's why we're here. And you're spot on, Judy, in that sometimes that might lead to a career. And in other times, it's really important to think about what are the other aspects of a meaningful life that that your boxes are being checked by engaging in these activities. I mean, talk about neurotypical people too. Anyone that I know who truly subscribes to and believes and feels that they are living a well-rounded, meaningful life have hobbies. It's not just about their job. It's about finding those things that make them be able to be themselves, their favorite version of themselves. And so that's what we try to do at the Miracle Project for communicators of all kinds.
Yeah. I want to ask you, in the role you have, you meet lots of parents, you meet lots of families.
Yeah.
And any role models or advice that you have for parents based on some of your interactions that you've had with this community for 15 years?
Yeah.
Anything come to mind?
Gosh, you know, one thing that I think is really important and can be so hard for any parent is recognizing that success doesn't look the same on everybody. And that doesn't mean that we have to lower the bar for anyone. That just means that we need to know that person well enough to know what growth would look like and to celebrate those incremental wins. We have participants in our classes where that are of mixed levels. Some come in with a lot of confidence and experience in expressing themselves in a theatrical way, and others are just the win is coming inside the room and being part of the group and staying the whole time, or even staying for half the time. And while the way that they engage with the program might look different, it's really important to kind of put the blinders on and not be affected by what comparison that will rob you of the ability to measure growth. And growth, I think it happens when someone is challenged just beyond what feels comfortable, but not so far beyond that they lose the opportunities to succeed. So what I hope to encourage parents to do is to not make sure that their children never struggle, but to make sure that they experience the right kind of struggle and in a community in which they can successfully fail. They can make mistakes, and it's okay to mess up, and it's okay to get it wrong and then try again. It's so important to be able to have spaces where that is possible, because then it makes risk taking and allowing oneself to be more engaged with the rest of the world possible, because we have that practice in doing it in safe spaces.
I'm glad you said that, because thinking back at the conference and I watch these videos of the conference all the time, and there's a moment where Alex talks about persistence and failing, and how important that is, and that was one of the themes when I walked away from the conference. There was the superpower theme, which everybody ended up talking about superpowers that they had, and then the second thing was this issue of failure, that a lot of the anxiety sometimes we see in folks on the spectrum is associated with really wanting to just do great and being fearful that they're not going to be able to perform to the level that they would like to. And so that anxiety causes them not to do things. And so I think Alex, I know that you've spoken quite a bit about just dealing with failure and running with it. You want to say anything about that?
Um, yeah, I think um, even, all these, let me rephrase. I think everyone, kind of goes through moments of hardship and failure, and it's kind of your reaction to it. It's not that it's you can avoid it. It's not, like lately I've been really into mindfulness, and it's not like, oh, I'm gonna do this so often that anxiety goes away. Like, no, it's just how you manage it and how you respond to it. And so I think that same principle for me applies to failure. So, yes, like I said earlier, like if you come up short on something or you solicit like a negative reaction from someone, like take a while to reflect if you have to, but then also chart your plan of like how you're going to improve after that. How how if you let's say for instance, you submitted a project to an animation studio and it was rejected. Okay, that sucks. Like, but take what take a lesson, use it as a lesson. Like take that application and say, how can I improve on this? Can I get feedback from it? Can I ask my parents about it? Can I ask my friends about it? And that again, that just being one example. I know with Blue Star, there's been so many. We've been a company now for a little under 4 years, and there's too many failures to even keep track of at this point. But the
There's
successes
successes too.
outweigh the failures, and again, it's those failures being like that make me kind of come back being hungry. Like, okay, like, well, I didn't get into that film festival, or I didn't get an email back from that company. Like, let me, how am I going to step it up a notch? So,
Right.
yeah.
The old lemonade theory. Sometimes when you get lemon, you figure out how to make lemonade. Well, this is a good time to take questions from the audience. Um, I'm gonna just turn my screen into something where I can see everyone. Let's see. And if you want to put it in the chat, you can. If you just want to raise your hand, I'll call on you. There we go. I can see everybody now. Christian, you have a question?
My question is for Alex. Alex, when you made the documentary Trial by Fire, did you use any of the California mountains as inspiration for your documentary?
That interesting question. So, not well, in a yeah, actually, I guess yes, because so to not go totally into the weeds of it, but that project was inspired by I was at UC Santa Barbara at the time, and we were just getting back from the Thomas Fire, which affected Santa Barbara County to the point where there were flash floods as well, and they had to evacuate all of the UC Santa Barbara campus, and it was during those that fire that they had the news footage, the B-roll mainly of just the inmates battling the fires. And I was like, huh, like I wonder what those guys think. I wonder like what it would be like to talk to them directly. And so that's kind of what we did. And it was part of Trial by Fire was part of an environmental filmmaking course. So that was kind of my pitch. And we're actually working on the feature right now. We just got the rough cut back today. Um,
Wow.
but in that a lot of the gentlemen and women talk about the importance of the scenery of getting out and being among the mountains and how it's so pivotal to their rehabilitation and sometimes which we focus on not only rehabilitation but also the desire to become a firefighter, a civilian firefighter after their release. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Christian. Are there other questions out there? Okay, there's a question from Angel in the chat. I'll do that. And then Devin, I'll call on you in a sec. Any advice for dealing with challenges, barriers related to speech impairment, autism when communicating with others and understanding others too, but very talented? So if you have communication challenges, Hannah, do you want to take a crack at that?
Sure. And I think there are a lot of different ways to approach this, but I would really encourage people to advocate for the supports that help them communicate successfully. I think sometimes that means extra processing time. Sometimes that means having a communication partner with them to help in if whether it's somebody who also uses AAC to communicate or might need that extra coaching to slow things down and sometimes translate what isn't coming across as naturally. I think that it's really helpful for people to learn how to rephrase a question or to say things like I communicate best when. Those aren't signs of weakness, those are strategies for success. And I think if someone is very talented, it's really important not to let a difference in communication overshadow those strengths. Sometimes we spend so much energy trying to fix communication that we often forget to create or seek out those opportunities for people to share what they're really talented in and in those ways. I think one of the reasons that autism is sometimes overlooked in broader entertainment is that there are these systems that weren't necessarily built for different types of communicators and learners and performers. And we're living in a really exciting time in which those opportunities are starting to become available if you look for them. And I think autism in entertainment is a really big player in making sure that those opportunities are publicized and made known to our community. So just because somebody isn't traditional communicator doesn't mean that they are it's off the table for them to participate in the performing arts or in entertainment.
Thank you, Hannah. And I think the one thing you should know, Angel, is that I think I've met you a couple of times, is that people are genuinely good. And if they know that you have a struggle and you talk to them, maybe before or, pick a time that's going to be convenient to let them know, then I think they're going to want to help you succeed. So just assume people have your best interest at heart, but be mindful of timing. I'm going to call on Devin. Hi, Devin. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good.
What do you want? What's your question for today?
Well, I'm a graduate from Exceptional Minds, and I'm planning to like pursue my interest in 3D and hope I land in like the 3D animation industry or at least the 3D industry in general. How do I make my portfolio stand? How do I make my portfolio stand out?
So I'm going to say that we a few ideas. So we do webinars all the time. We did a few. One we did with Kyle Boyd, and Kyle Boyd is from Disney.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and
I
did you attend that webinar, Devin?
Yeah, I think I joined the webinar hosted by Kyle last year. My mom was also there. I was
Yes.
also an intern at Disney Television Animation last year and
Oh,
worked
that's
with the Disney
wonderful.
Studio Pixar Cars Lightning Racers team.
So Kyle gave some suggestions there. There's an organization called Brick, which also has which we had come speak to us last month, I believe. And they offer apprenticeships, but they also offer these badges that you can earn for certain skills, and they'll give you feedback. So that's a resource. But if you're a graduate from Exceptional Minds, this is where I say the educational partners matter. They're a great, go back to them and say, hey, here's my portfolio. Will you sit down with me and go over it? And I'm sure that they will. Contact Andrew Ainsworth and set up a session to review it. Um, use the context you have. There's also a couple other educational partners, Howie Hoffman and Michael Silver. They were at the conference, and they may be willing to set up a session with you to review it. So seek their, share with them their opinion. Devin, are you a member of Autism and Entertainment? Did you join? Do we have you up in our talent book yet?
Yeah, I'm a member.
Okay. Yeah. Do you mind if I share? Do you have an entry in the talent book? Do you know if you did that?
I don't generally recall.
Okay, I'm going to just share my screen and just show that really quickly because I think it's one of the things I want people to know about. So hold on. So this idea of doing the talent book came from one of our advisory board members, and the idea was we wanted to be able to make to allow business people to see your portfolios, and we also wanted to encourage people to work together. So here's the talent book. Oh, I want to go to the talent book directory. That's my son's. There we go. So here, this is one. I'm going to see if you're in here, Devin. No, I don't see you. That's Devin Morrissey. But here's Gustavo's. And you can look at some other people's um, uh, background, and he has his own website, and you can look at their portfolios that are in their website, just to get ideas of what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a member of Autism and Entertainment, you can have access to the talent book. You can create your own talent book entry, and you can look at other people's, which you may look at them to see, let's see, other animators. So there's character design. They call themselves a lot of different things. Here's a comic book artist. So anyway, I'm just recommend doing that as a way of seeing what other people do, and then create your own um, entry in the talent book so people can see what you have. And it might be a good
Okay.
way to put it up there and say, hey, send it. You can contact each other and you can say, hey, Gustavo, would you look at my talent book entry? I'd like to get your feedback. So it's a way of you maybe even doing it amongst yourselves.
Sure. Well, thanks. I'll be sure to keep that in mind.
Yeah, those are a lot of different ideas. Okay, is there? Oh, Sarah, you asked about the talent book, which I just showed. So I hope you saw that. Any other questions? Someone wanted to know about opportunities for entertainment, and I talked about how dismal things are, but I wanted to mention that we look into other opportunities that are kind of interesting. And last December, we went to LDI 2025, which is Live Design International, and that's a conference for live entertainment. And live is entertainment might be a concert, might be theater, might be church groups putting on shows. And as much as we're saying it's difficult in like film or animation, in live entertainment, there's a lot of growth. And what we're finding is people my age are retiring, and there's new opportunities for younger people, and it hasn't been taken over by AI. And there's opportunities doing lighting, doing video work there, doing sound, a lot of different roles to put on a show. And so one of the things I'm going to be posting a blog. I'll go back to our on our website. There's the news section, and within the news section, there's a blog area and resources. Let's see, news and events, and this is the blog. And this is where I post things that are going on. So, for example, Warner Brothers Discovery has an internship program, and has information about it. And I'll be posting an article here tomorrow about Even, Even, and they have live entertainment internships, apprenticeships, and they also include training for that. And they're aware of us, and you can apply for that. So if that's something you're interested in, that's a way of getting into entertainment in an area that is growing. And you may have skills in one area that might be actually a value in the live entertainment space. And if you think of live entertainment, there's all these concerts, there's all these shows, but everybody wants to put on, I feel like the Little Rascals. Everyone wants to go to the barn and put on a show. But churches have shows, and there's um um sales conferences, they have shows. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and I wanted to mention the blog area because it's a good place to keep an eye on for opportunities. There's internships there, there's training programs there, there's contests there, all sorts of different opportunities for you, and that's where you go to keep track of it. And it always shows up on the front of our website, and a lot of times we'll also post it on social media as well. Okay, any other, let's see, questions that we had? What are your thoughts on the lack of representation of autistic people, color in media and on social media? I think one of the things that I'm excited about is I've seen a lot of opportunities for folks on the spectrum, many who were at the conference getting roles in shows. We had uh, Lillian Carrier, who was in Horse Girls. She spoke to us. Aiden was in
Begonia.
Begonia. And Dom Brown, who was another person in our spotlight video, is appearing in a film. And he, for those that don't know him, he's a person of color. He's also a great singer as well as performer. So one of the things we're seeing is that this topic, featuring characters on the spectrum, seems to be something on the rise. And not only is it on the rise, but casting directors are choosing to hire people on the spectrum for a more authentic performance. And so is it I know performers who are on the spectrum who don't want to just be limited to that. I mean, you can think about I'm trying to think of a few of the performers. Who's in Silence of the Lamb, Alex?
Um,
Anthony.
Huh?
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins is on the spectrum.
If I could just add in to
Yeah.
for Aiden, since so we were lucky enough for the Blue Star Film Festival to have him on the little panel we
Right,
did.
right. Yeah, you did that panel.
And what I thought was super cool with the way that I don't want to butcher his name, the director of Begonia thought of his role, according to Aiden, was that he didn't go into it thinking like, okay, I need like to fulfill like an autistic character thing. It was more just like, no, Aiden was like the best actor for the role. And he didn't write that character with autism in mind. It just happened that way with the casting process and Aiden's performance. And so I think that's a really cool thing going forward, is like, obviously they're still gonna like, and that can be good too, that there are deliberately like autistic characters, and that it's made more explicit. But there also are roles like Begonia where it's never even touched on in the film. It's just his character, and everyone in the world just kind of doesn't see it as anything different. So I think that's really exciting as well.
Yeah, and one of the things we're seeing is that where there are now there's a lot of people getting representation that didn't have representation before from agents and managers and things like that didn't exist before. So a lot of really great opportunities have emerged over the last couple years. Okay, any more? Yeah, go ahead, Hannah.
I was also going to add there seems to be a lot more understanding about the importance of accessibility on set. That there more production companies are starting to keep in their budget things like an accessibility coordinator. So people like Elaine Hall and I've worked on a couple of different projects myself who are there to help make sure that everybody, including the neurotypical crew, access needs are met, and those tend to make more successful productions, and more successful productions mean more money and more reason to hire
Yeah.
diverse talent. So it's part of a larger ecosystem rethinking that is really
Right.
exciting right now.
Right. And that's what we are about, is changing the ecosystem. So I feel like we're having an impact. Whether it would have happened if we didn't exist, I have no idea. But I'm happy to see the change. I'm going to take over the screen again, and just to kind of finish off with talking about what's next. All right. So I just want to encourage you to support us, help us open more doors. You might support us because you're in the industry, and you can help us do a studio tour or be a mentor, or help us in some way um, work work on this project of changing the world. Um, you may want to be in a webinar. Uh, we also have some resource guides now that are available. If you go to our website, you'll see those. They were also in the newsletter. I don't know how many of you checked out the newsletter, went out last week. It was a book. There's a huge story of Devin Morrissey in there. Um, but we're also trying to increase awareness and support you all. The more people that we can get supporting us, the more we can help you. Um, but if you join, there are things that we like. This event I wanted to do for everyone, but there are things that we only do for members, and membership is only $10 a month, and that funds everything we do. And we try as often to pay talent as well, so you may earn that money back if you get involved. But there are a lot of benefits for becoming a member. Um, on our monthly webinars, sometimes we have private discussions with people afterwards for members. We did a mentor circle program with Exceptional Minds, where 10 of our members were able to work in mentor circles with animators and people in the industry to get their advice. We have You Better Ask Paul. We're lucky that Paul Hemstreet is on our work group, and he's hosting once a month discussions with other people in the industry where you get to ask your questions. You submit questions ahead of time and can talk to them. Members also get studio tours. We've gone to Warner Brothers, we've gone to DreamWorks, we've gone to Disney and seen rehearsals, etc. You can be in the talent book. Just a lot of different opportunities if you become a member, and it doesn't cost much. But if everybody paid, we could do so much more. So I'm encouraging you to become a member. This is information on member. The next, You Better Ask Paul, I believe he's going to have some casting directors in there, is August 11th. They're Tuesdays at lunchtime. And then the next one is in September. And we went over the talent book. So we're just about ending this one today. I hope you got ideas, figured out where you are in your journey, thought about some things that you could do tomorrow that you hadn't thought of before. The next session is going to be on August 12th, and it's going to be a Wednesday. And we're going to have 3 guests. Josh Bass, who, like Devin, did an internship at Disney, his mom, Diane, and Catherine Wells from Exceptional Minds. Now, I invited Diane and Josh because they have been pros at taking advantage of regional center services and DOR services in fueling Josh's passion and career. And finding those resources, I think, is important. And so we'll be able to focus a bit more on that. Also, Josh participated in the mentor program with Catherine, and I wanted Catherine to talk about that. The third one, we're going to have Tyler. So, friend of both Alex and myself, and Kathy McCauley from Spec Labs. Tyler is a voice actor. He now, when I first talked to him, he wanted to have roles. He wanted to have a manager. He wanted to have an agent, and he ended up being the voice of God at our conference. He found a girlfriend. They're now living together at Cornerstone. He's got a manager, Marlene. He's got an agent, and he's been getting a lot of different roles. So I think his story, and Kathy McCauley, who's worked with him at Spec Labs, has been a huge mentor and a huge supporter of his. So I think that'll be an interesting session. So any last questions before we call it an evening?
Thank you, Judy. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry, thank
Yeah,
you,
thanks,
Alex. Thank you,
Judy.
Hannah.
Thank
You
you.
guys were great.
Okay.
And thank
To
you,
be
everyone, for tuning in.
continued. This is incredible.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a great evening. Take care. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.